everybody, welcome back to Furniture Flipping Teacher. We've got a really outdated dresser on our hands today, and I am going to show you how to make over this type of pine dresser and bring it into the modern world. I'm not too sure what decade this is from, but if I am recalling right, I think it may have had one of those big hutch things with a mirror in there that people put in their bedrooms. I could be wrong, but it seems to be that type of piece. But moral of the story is this thing needs a big makeover, and we're gonna give it one. Before we jump into today's video, I wanted to share something that has completely upgraded my skincare routine. This is the FAQ 202 by Faux, which is their next generation LED face mask. It's ultra lightweight, wireless, and made with a unique flexi fit silicone, so it molds directly to any face shape. I absolutely love how comfortable it is because I can walk around the house and still get things done while I'm wearing it and still giving myself a great skincare routine. It has 8 different wavelengths, including near infrared light that work on multiple layers of your skin. Over time, I've already noticed that my skin feels smoother and looks less dull. Fine lines are softer and my overall tone is way more even. If you're someone with a busy schedule or you just want to keep your skin looking fresh and youthful without booking spa appointments, this is honestly a game changer. I love that I can get a professional grade LED treatment right here at home in just minutes. And right now, Faux is celebrating their birthday and they are offering 35% off of all products, including the FAQ 202. Cool thing is the discount even stacks on their already sale items, so you can get up to 50% off on their website. Just click the link in my description and use the code TEACHER35 to grab your discount today. Don't miss out, your skin will thank you. I am gonna go ahead and get rid of all of this Batwing hardware. I do not know how this survived so long with the designs of dressers, honestly. Like, if you like this style, I'm sorry, but it's just not cute in my opinion, and it is definitely not modern. So since we're modernizing this, these are all gonna come off and they are gonna be chucked into the trash or maybe donated to the thrift store. We'll see. This piece has these labels on every drawer. I think this is the first dresser that I've came across that has this. I've seen other people's pieces have that, but like colored t-shirts all the way down, and a junk drawer. We've got more junk, sheets, winter stuff, pants, all that. So this was definitely a well-loved and used dresser, and I'm hoping that once I bring it into this decade, that it will be a loved dresser for years to come as well. We also got some lovely, I don't know what this type of paper is in the drawers, at least in this top drawer. And then while I'm removing the hardware, I figured I might as well go ahead and take out all the drawers as well. I'm gonna label them too, so that way I know exactly where to put them back when I am putting everything back together. If I remember right, I believe I got this at a Goodwill for about like $65 or $75. So not too bad for a solid wood piece. I can tell that this is solid wood already, and I'm pretty sure it is pine. Cleaning time, I'm gonna be using Simple Green, and I've got that in this bottle here. And then I've also got a razor blade to help me take these little labels off. And then a cloth as well to wipe down the drawers and the entire surface. So first, I think I'm gonna try to get these off there. It should just come off pretty easy. And then if there's any residue, that'll just come off with sanding later on. But I'm gonna try not to leave any residue. They definitely are leaving residue, so Probably not the best idea to put labels on your furniture, so maybe a different method there, like just opening them. Pretty dirty. Not the dirtiest I've seen, but definitely needed a wipe down. And then remember, with simple green, you always need to go back and rinse everything because it does kind of leave behind a sticky residue. So that's typical of cleaners unless you're using a cleaner that doesn't leave behind a residue. So it usually does tell you on the bottle and things like that. So once I get everything wiped down with the simple green, I'll come back with a damp cloth and just make sure that we got all that residue off of there. Is all complete, so it's time for me to start sanding. To be completely honest, I have no idea what direction I want to go with this dresser. I've got so many different ideas twirling around in my brain. This could go so many different ways, but I know for sure that this top needs to be sanded off, no matter if I decide to paint the whole thing or, you know, do the whole thing raw wood or whatever I decide. There's too much failing finish and scratches on the top of this to keep it. So I am going to be using my Surf Prep 5-inch orbital sander with 120 grit sandpaper, and we are going to cut through the top of this pretty quick. So let's get to it. I'm moving on to the drawers. I did go ahead and sand down the front portion here to the raw wood because there were a lot of dings and dents. Again, a lot of the times when you have wood furniture, the dents and dings just dent and ding. They don't really chip. So you can't really see them when it is still finished, but when you start to sand, you can really tell that there's dents and dings, and that will really show up if you start to paint that without fixing it, whether that be from sanding it out if it's pretty like shallow, or by adding wood filler or Bondo to fill all those in and then sanding it out. I personally think that it's easier for the shallow things to just sand it smooth, but some people prefer to do the Bondo, and that's just a personal preference, honestly. When I was doing the top up there, it did look like there was veneer on the top, and so I was super close to sanding through it. So I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to be painting the top or trying to stain it. I may stain it and just see what it looks like, and if it doesn't look great, then I'll just go ahead and paint everything. But overall, I don't think that this is the particular dresser that I should stain or do a paint wash with. Just because of the overall condition to it. We'll see, and I'll make the official decision after I get to the drawers. I think I'm probably gonna have to strip the finish off of the drawers for the most part as well. So we'll kind of just go from there and see how easy the finish comes off, but I can already see tons of dents and dings, and then plus just the hardware alone even left some indents. So I'm gonna sand with a 180 grit and my orbital sander and see if we can't get through some of this finish pretty quick. This is called hardware ghosting, where the hardware outline is a completely different color than the actual, or like than the remainder of the drawers. So there's one way that you can combat it, and that is to like bleach it, but even then it doesn't fully come out. I could also continue to sand and see if that might work, but ultimately, like I kind of said, I think this is gonna be a good contender for paint. But I was able to sand out most of those dents and dings like I was hoping, so still probably gonna go to raw wood and then paint. I am ready to tackle the base on this thing, and I'm gonna keep it pretty simple, but there are these extra frills that I'm just not loving. And so I kind of taped off two different options, a curved edge or a squared off edge. And I ultimately think that the curved edge is gonna be my favorite. There's only one kind of issue with this base and the way that it's been cut in the past, like from the manufacturer. And that is that this top curved area is actually higher up than this portion of the dresser. And so if I just went and cut this high and then kind of stopped here, there would be this weird slope right here. It would be super gradual, but I still think it would be kind of visible. So I think I'm gonna actually have to cut like all the way across, which kind of stinks because this is already a straight line and that would be super simple. Cutting long straight lines is kind of tricky for me. So I'm just gonna have to go with the flow, figure it out, and see if we can't get this pretty straight. I think I'm gonna start by tackling the curves, and then we'll move on to the straight lines. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and get started on this side and see if I can't get this curve straightened out a little bit and just at least get rid of these two little guys. Yeah, I just wish that it was a little bit simpler than this. Okay, so that's the first little edge guy that I wanted to cut off. I got the base all nice and level, I decided to try my hand at using the circular saw across the middle portion so that it could be a lot easier for me to stay straight. I don't know what it is, but the jigsaw for me getting it straight is just a little bit trickier. And so the circular saw ended up working out really nice. And then I used the jigsaw for the smaller cuts on both sides. So now we've got just a nice little curve on every side, and it's much better without those frills. I think that a lot of the times simply updating the base by cutting off those frills is really going to update the dresser and bring it into the modern day look without having to actually remake an entire base for your piece. You don't always have to go big, so sometimes just small modifications like that is the way to go to make things a bit simpler and even more cost effective. But now that we are done sanding and cutting everything, I am ready to prime. And I did think about maybe doing a paint wash over everything, but the more that I look at the wood, it's just, I think it's pine wood. If it's not pine, then it may be like poplar or something like that. But either way, it's not a great wood that's gonna take stain super well unless I bleached it and did all those steps, which I don't really want to do on this flip. So instead, I am gonna be priming and painting everything. I wanted to keep the top in the beginning, but I was wrong. It's actually not a solid wood top. There was a very thick veneer, but in some of the spots there were some really deep gouges and it kind of went below the veneer just a tad bit. Not fully, but like you can see it, and I just don't think that the stain would take very well. I may or may not have an idea up my sleeve that I can still have a stained top. But first, we need to go ahead and prime everything. So I'm gonna wrap up the drawers and then get to priming. Okay, I'm ready to prime. I've got my spray gun all loaded up. I'm using the Bin Advanced in the tinted gray color. So I'm gonna spray the entire piece, like I said, even the base, but I do still think that I'm gonna have some wood-like elements on this piece. So stay tuned. Let's get this thing primed. I'm just about ready to get some paint on my dresser. I am going to be using the color French Linen from Annie Sloan chalk paint line. I've had this for quite a while, and so I'm always trying to use the paint up that I already have before I start going to get more, especially because I have so much of it. So this is the color there, and it is a chalk paint, so it's on the thicker side, but I am still going to spray it. I think I'll just add a little bit of water to make sure that it's nice and thinned out. So I've got my strainer here, and because it's thicker, it'll definitely take a little while longer for it to go through the strainer, but I got it all mixed up. And then we'll just go ahead and let that go through, and I'll also add some water. Just a tad bit, and then I can always add more if I need to, if it's not coming out of the sprayer very well. I already went ahead and knocked down all of the grittiness that was kind of on the surface from it being raw wood to then me doing a water-based primer over the top of it. It was just a little bit on the rougher side, the dresser. So I did a really fine sanding job over the entire surface, and that should help me get this very smooth on there. Since this is a chalk paint, there may be a bit of texture, so I'll probably do that again during the between time, between when I do coat 1 and coat 2 after it dries, and I'll smooth it out one more time. Now, chalk paint does need a top coat because there's no built-in top coat with this, so I'll definitely be doing that as well. Okay, I've got the first coat all dry, so I am gonna go in with my sander, like I talked about, and just knock back a little bit of the texture. Even though this is chalk paint, we still will be able to get a nice and smooth finish. You just have to kind of work in between coats just as much. So. Okay, I am moving on to coat number 2 now. I'm thinking that this is gonna be the final coat that's necessary because that first coat got really great coverage. And so one more coat and we'll should be able to move on past painting. I went ahead and brought the piece over here now, and I'm gonna tackle the top. I told you that the top just wasn't quite good enough for a stain because I did kind of go through the veneer over here just a little bit, and it made a pretty big difference. So I just was gonna scratch the idea of stain, but then I remembered I can always use Retique It, and this is a perfect product for this because I want to keep the top a wood look, and it's damaged, so I can't. So a pivot idea is to use Retique It Primer, which has 60% wood fibers in it, so it's gonna act and look a lot like wood. And then after a little bit of layering, I will be able to have a wood-like top. So I went ahead and primed it with the rest of the piece just to give it a layer, but this is a primer as well, so technically I didn't need to prime before the primer, but I had it out and I was just doing the whole thing. So this is the light color. There's also a dark color, but I want to kind of build on this light look, and I'm going to go ahead and paint on the primer from side to side, mimicking a wood grain pattern all the way across. While the top was drying, I flipped it over, and I also did the same thing on the base down below so that the base and the top can kind of match and have that same stain color. But I'm gonna do a quick second coat on this, and then we'll be able to get into the staining portion. Now that the primer is dry here, we've got some brush stroke marks, which typically I do not like. So that's why a lot of the times you'll see me spraying furniture. But in this specific case, I do want the brush strokes because that is gonna, again, help me mimic wood looks. Now, in the past, I have done it a couple of different ways. Sometimes I like to use a wood graining tool and really hone in on making it look like exposed wood grain. This time I just want to have a little bit of graining in it. I don't want the knots and things in it, so I'm not gonna use that tool. I am just gonna be using this gel stain alternative, and it's the color Pecan, and I think it'll darken this up a lot. I'm gonna do two different methods. I'm gonna first apply it with a regular brush here, and then after all of it is on, I'm gonna go back and just go over lightly with this wider brush. That's hopefully going to help just even everything out and make it look like wood. This gel stain alternative is definitely pretty thin, so I may need to do more coats of it. Okay, so I've got that whole thing covered. Now I've got my big brush. Sweet. Okay, I think I will do another coat, but I need to let this dry a little bit before I flip over the dresser and do the base down below, and also before I do the second coat. But I'm really excited about how this is gonna turn out. What the? Top turned out really, really awesome. So now I am ready to top coat everything. Remember, the chalk paint does need the top coat, so that's why I waited to top coat when I have everything ready. So the tops will also be top coated, and then the base as well. I am gonna be using my Varathane Satin Poly, and this is a water-based product, so I've got it loaded up into my spray gun here, and we're gonna go to town with some spraying. Okay, I went ahead and brought this dresser over to the staging wall, and I am ready to get the drawers in and get it all put back together. Got some new hardware that I'm really excited about. I'm just gonna go ahead and unwrap all of these drawers. All the drawers are installed, so I am going to put in the hardware. Now, these top pieces of hardware were smaller at 3 inches than these lower drawers at 3.5 inches. But I wanted to get a more uniform look, make it a little bit simpler on myself without filling hardware holes and things like that. So I decided to go with this adjustable hardware from Franklin Brass, which is a branch of Liberty Hardware. I have used this in the past. They actually sent me these to show you guys here on the channel, but I've used similar, if not the exact same. I think I did a different style, but it was Franklin Brass. And I wanted to show you exactly how these adjustable pulls work, because even though these two are different widths apart, I'm still gonna be able to use this hardware. This hardware actually fits anywhere from 1 inch to 4 inch hardware holes. So that means it's gonna fit on these perfectly and these perfectly, but really look like it's the same width because it's the same piece of hardware. I love these for when I have really abnormal hardware hole sizes as well. And again, maybe I don't wanna fill them in, especially with wood pieces that I can't, like, personally at least, not great at filling in holes and then masking it to look like wood. So this is a great option for pieces like that as well. Oh, and one other thing is, with these adjustable poles, they don't need any tools. It comes with all of the tools that you need to actually put these on to your piece. So that's super awesome as well. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is pull out your drawer, and you're gonna wanna see which of the screws fit your drawer width best, or like how deep your little the drawer front is. So it comes with long ones, that, and then it also comes with some shorter screws as well. So you just have to choose. Mine particularly need the shorter screws. So these are actually gonna go in backwards than what you might think. We are going to put them in this way. Because ultimately this is gonna slide right on there. Next, I'm just screwing on the nuts and the washers back here on the back side. Not screwing them on all the way to make this tight, just enough so that they won't come out. And then I'm gonna use this guy, and we're gonna slide it in like so, all the way across until we get it right in the middle. You can see the hardware holes, and then we're gonna want to just tighten that up. We're gonna wanna make sure that this is level, and then get this really nice and tight back there so that it's not gonna go anywhere. And then there you have it, one hardware. I forgot to tell you that actually this is the tool that it comes with to actually tighten those. It's like a little butterfly one, and you stick the nut on the end of there, and that's how you tighten it on the inside. So that's why I say you don't need any tools, because it comes with that in there. All right, that's a wrap on this dresser. I like the way that it turned out. Typically, I'm always loving the end result, but for some reason, this one just isn't quite hitting as much as a lot of my other pieces do, but that doesn't mean that I don't like it. I think it was a great transformation. Ultimately, I do think that I wanted the tops to be, the top and the bottom to be like a little bit darker, but I don't know, it doesn't take away fully. I do still think that this is totally sellable in style, and someone will snag it off Facebook Marketplace, but ultimately, maybe it's just not like my style. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I'd love to just hear your thoughts on this piece, because I don't know, I feel like maybe because I didn't go in with a complete vision at the beginning, then it's a little bit hard for me to just love it. I don't know. I like it. It's not bad, but I don't love it. but I'd love to hear your thoughts. But first, let's talk about the numbers. For the numbers on this piece, they were pretty low, honestly, for such a big dresser. So the piece, I got it for $65, and it was a pretty solid piece. It's all made of pine, but still heavy, nice quality material. And then the primer underneath costs about $10. Remember, I got that huge gallon, and it lasted me at least for 10 projects now, and it only cost like 70 bucks. So really, I'm being pretty lenient when it comes to that primer cost. Paint cost me $30. This was the Annie Sloan chalk paint, so I'll try to link that down below for you if you're interested in checking that out. The stains from the top to the bottom will say around $15 of product used. And the top coat overall, remember I also have a big gallon of that, and that cost me around $10 to coat the whole thing a couple of times with my sprayer. And then the hardware here, I was actually gifted by Liberty Hardware, so I will link that below, but I have used the Liberty Hardware sub-brand Franklin Brass a ton in previous flips, and they sent me some of this adjustable hardware and also some other really neat choices that I can't wait to share with you on future projects. But check out those down below. They are all linked down below in the description. They're really high quality, and of course, I showed you all about the adjustable hardware. I thought that that was really neat, but overall, all like 13 pulls and a couple of knobs probably would have ran me around, I don't know, it depends on the sales and things, but I wouldn't say much more than like 60 bucks for all of that, so not too shabby. My total, oh, and the miscellaneous costs, I always like to factor that in. Sandpaper, the plastic and tape to wrap the drawers, things like that, all needs to be accounted for, so those miscellaneous costs around $10. So my all-in for this entire project was $140. So like I said, kind of on that lower side. If you would have added in the hardware, even around $200 isn't such a bad buy-in for just a one dresser. I'm thinking of listing this probably around like $700 to $750, and then I'll have a little bit of wiggle room. I probably wouldn't take less than like $650, maybe $600, especially because I'm not loving it. But again, just because I don't love it doesn't mean that someone else won't love it. So I think that still putting a pretty good ticket on there on Facebook Marketplace is the way to go. All right, that is the end of this furniture flip. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure and get subscribed down below, because here in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna have some amazing content that's not located here in the shop. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited to be doing some off-site projects for some family, and you don't wanna miss it. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.